I mentioned in a previous video that I almost got in a fist fight at work when I was young and stupid. 15 years later, I am very proud to report I am no longer young. After things cooled down, another coworker helpfully reminded us that there will be no winner when things go to HR. As Mr. Shaw once quoted, "You never wrestle with pigs, because you both get dirty and the pig likes it." It's an apt saying and a good reminder that in life, most fights don't end with a clear winner. Both parties usually look pretty stupid by the end.
Kids, you're both just awful.
That brings us to today's topic of the ongoing spat between Disney and Ron DeSantis. Let's take a stroll through their idiotic meadow of stupid decisions to see how neither of them is going to come out ahead when the dust settles. I want to reiterate from a previous video, this is not a take side situation, guys. This is like watching two crackheads fight in a McDonald's parking lot. This is for entertainment purposes only. Disney's latest shot over the bow was threatening to pull investment money from Orlando, which is a complete bluff, but we need a little background first. Hey Maria, where should we start?
Let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah, that sounds like a good place. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move.
All right, now see, that's a little too far back.
It all started way back in March of 2022 when Florida was going to pass their Parents' Rights in Education bill, or the Don't Say Gay bill, depending on your source. Hey, quick aside, the bill was about teaching general sexuality to kindergarten through third graders, so when you call it the Don't Say Gay bill, it sounds a little self-snitchy, just so you know. Like any government policy about social politics, there was heated public debate. For some reason, the employees of Disney felt they had a right to demand their employer take a public stance on this bill that affected the public school system. This I find to be the strangest bit of this whole video. When did we start demanding that our employer parrot our politics? The only thing I want from my boss is money. We're strictly platonic. I don't need a political fluffer. Now, to his credit, Bob Chapek wanted none of it at first. He was running a business, so he was focused on running the business. Shocking. Sadly, he's living in a world where everybody wants to be a star and feel like they're part of something, even if it's just protests and hashtags. Looking at you, Coney 2012. The pressure from his own employees became too much, however, and then he was publicly unified via web conference with this sad apology.
I'm sorry, you are haunting. Your face is the stuff of nightmares.
Like a testicle with teeth.
You will die alone.
You know what? I'm never going to apologize for asking you to hit that like button. Nailed it! Then the CEO of a billion-dollar multinational personally vowed to fight against a bill in Florida that affected public schools. Stupid, damaging to the brand, horrible decision, but whatever. He decided to throw the first punch. And that's very important. Despite Ron's many missteps, this did start with Disney.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Hey, Teacher Greg here, and it's at this moment that I'd like to encourage you to homeschool, especially if you're worried about what's being taught in public schools. You get more time with your kids, they get flexibility in how and what they're learning, and they get a teacher that cares about them more than anybody. That's you. Sure, there are challenges, but you absolutely are qualified, and you can do it. If you have any questions, comment them or email me. I'll answer, but let's get back to the matter at hand. The bill eventually passed despite Disney's objections, and you know how your mom always told you it takes two people to start a fight and don't be a sore winner? Well, Ron's mom didn't tell him that, or he forgot, because he vowed revenge against Disney.
It was on that day I put a jihad on them.
He decided he was tired of Disney having special privileges in the Reedy Creek district and was going to retaliate by taking them away. Less than a month after signing the Parents' Rights bill, he signed another bill stripping Disney of its self-governance and tried to fundraise off the whole thing, telling his constituents if Disney wants a fight, they chose the wrong guy.
King, I heard somewhere that if you flex too hard, you can pass out.
Now stop, hold on, because right now some of you are thinking, he had every right to take that away. It wasn't retaliation. Why should Disney get special privileges? So a couple of things here. It will always look like retaliation because of the timing. People have commented, this should have been done years ago. Disney never built the city that he promised he would. But it wasn't done years ago. It wasn't a problem until Disney stepped out of line and criticized El Jefe. It doesn't matter if Ron was legally allowed to move against them. It will always look like petty retaliation, and it will stain his career forever. Further, Disney's special privileges are a symbiotic relationship that bring billions of dollars a year to the state. Also, those of you clinging to the argument that Ron was within his rights have clearly never been in a committed relationship. If you had been, you'd be familiar with the concept of being right and still losing. Some fights just aren't worth picking, and the correct move here would have been to ignore them.
We have a war to fight. Let's move along.
There's a reason I don't engage with purely negative commenters in here. Several reasons, actually. One, I don't dignify stupidity or hateful crap with a response. Two, and this is more important, it's disrespectful to the people leaving nice or constructive comments. Look, I can't respond to every comment anymore, which is a good problem to have, I suppose, but what that means is that time spent trying to convince an idiot that they're wrong is time not spent engaging with someone who has something interesting to say. Respectful disagreements I like to engage with. Angry jibes? Waste of time. Three, it shows a profound lack of self-control that I would let a comment get to me. DeSantis should have just ignored all of this, or maybe dropped a dismissive insult. Like, imagine a reporter asks him about the Disney thing, and he responds with, "Oh, right, I hear Chapek can't control his own employees, and he's letting them run the company now. It's a really cute business strategy. Anyway, the other adults and I, we're gonna continue governing the state. He should probably check his stock price." Boom, then you move on. But his actions show that Bob got under his thin skin, and now he looks childish. He stooped down to Disney's level, and he will be tarnished for it. Like bad tarnish, not in the cool Eldon way. This, by the way, is why his presidential bid won't stand up against Trump. Listen, Donald Trump does and says a whole lot of things I do not agree with, but I have to admit, the man has charisma and presence. When he was in the debates, he was good with the one-liners. He was good with dismissing opponents. That's the difference between him and DeSantis. He just knows what to say, and his fans love it. Ron doesn't know what to say. He has to focus test everything first. That is why people like Trump. They feel like he's authentic. DeSantis comes across as very calculated, and he looks fake because of it. He knows Disney's woke politics are unpopular with the Republican base, and calculated that hitting them back would score him some points. And it absolutely did, until Disney was ready with a counterpunch. After Ron made his intent known to clear out the board that manages Reedy Creek and replace them with his own people, Disney's army of lawyers found a loophole to effectively neuter the board on their way out. Again, it's all about optics, and the headline here was DeSantis outsmarted by Disney. Hey, let's take a quick break, because I'm working through this tea sampler, and today's is pretty good. It is the Turmeric Bliss, and I'm going to give it about a 7. It's not as strong as I'd like. I double bagged this American cup, and I still don't feel like it's got the strength that I'm looking for, but the taste is delicious. The sampler's linked below, along with the normal Audible and Udemy stuff. I invite you to join me on this leafy journey. Okay, so up to this point, this has been mostly about the governor, but that's because he's been the aggressor for the better part of a year, and that's why he looks terrible. Remember the power dynamics here. Disney can shout all they want, but at the end of the day, they're just some company. Ron has the power, and he's looking like a bully. At one point, he suggested raising taxes on the hotels around the park, or increasing tolls on the roads leading to it, or building a new prison on the nearby land the state now controls. He was quoted as saying, "You know, people are like, what should we do with this land? People have said maybe create a state park, maybe try to do more amusement parks. Somebody even said, like, maybe you need another state prison. Who knows? I just think the possibilities are endless." A prison? Really, bro? So yeah, Disney spoke out against this bill, and Ron was like,
You just brought piss to a shit fight, you little...
So after several comments like this, Disney finally decided to sue, claiming that the government was directly retaliating against them for expressing their First Amendment rights. Once again, your rights don't make it right. Jeff, what do you think?
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
All things considered, it was pretty stupid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Bob Iger is also trying to play the tough guy on TV, pretending that the company is reconsidering the $17 billion they were going to invest in Orlando over the next 10 years.
Sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
Oh, that's a pretty obvious bluff, though. As we've talked about before, the only thing keeping Disney afloat right now is the parks. Disney Plus is actively losing money. The direct-to-consumer stuff isn't generating cash. It's only the parks right now. And Orlando's a tough spot right now because Universal Studios is on their tail. In the last couple of decades, Universal has really made some strides to expand their kid offering. I've been to both parks, and Universal still feels a little bit more grown up, you might say. way than Disney. It's a little more real, while Disney's a little more magic. The main park is still mostly dedicated to the movie industry, movie making. They still have older things going on, like the Bluesmobile touring the park. The Islands of Adventure side has some slightly older things, like the Simpsons area or the aging Marvel heroes. But in just a couple of years, their Epic Universe park is going to open, literally doubling the size of their park, and it's undoubtedly going to include DreamWorks and Illumination properties that they've been pouring into. It's already known that there will be a Mario Brothers area, so Disney cannot afford to abandon Orlando, or Universal's going to eat an even bigger portion of their lunch than they were already going to. This obvious lie that they might withhold the $17 billion from investment in the state is just stupidly false. They have literal billions to lose, which makes their little venture into politics especially stupid looking now, doesn't it?
You look so dumb right now.
But let's just play pretend that they withhold the investment. Or let's entertain the much more serious reality that DeSantis ends up costing them billions. Either by forcing them to pay off their billion-dollar bond debt at Reedy Creek, this might not even be possible, Disney's contract lawyers are freaking good, y'all, Scarlett Johansson knows. Or by making their operating costs go up with additional taxes, inspections, and other municipal hoops to jump through. Eventually, customer flow to the area will slow, either because Ron made hotel stays and tolls outrageous to spite Disney, or because Disney is just offering less or pricing out the customers because of the added government expense. Whatever the cause or case, it's highly probable that the Orlando area and the state budget in general will take a hit. Disney recently disclosed that they pay over $1.1 billion annually in state and local taxes. That doesn't account for the aforementioned tolls and hotel taxes and the sales tax in the surrounding area. Not to mention the higher property value for miles that results in more taxes. I don't know if there's a way to calculate exactly how much Disney is bringing into the state's coffers every year, directly and indirectly, but I don't think it would be out of line to suggest that it might be $3 to $4 billion. With this year's state budget being $117 billion, that would mean this single company might account for a full 3% of the state's budget ability. I say all of this to point out just how stupid DeSantis is going to look if he runs the company off or into the ground. The entire state would feel the effects, and nobody's going to care that it was all in the name of fighting wokeness and pansexuals in the schools. His repeated attacks on the company, both verbal and legal, make him look like a bully. It also says something about his governing style that voters are not going to like when he finally announces his presidential bid. He's looking like the kind of guy that might use the IRS to go after his political enemies. And again, he didn't have to do any of this. Look at Disney right now. Their stock is trading at a level they haven't seen since 2014. They're carrying a massive amount of debt. Indiana Jones 5 is getting dunked on left and right, as is the announcement of more Rey movies. They're admitting defeat of the billion-dollar Galactic Star Cruiser that's going to close this year. The MCU is showing serious signs of strain. Pixar hasn't made money on a movie since 2019. The company's not in great shape, and it's 100% their own fault. And their politics aren't generally popular anyway. Ron doesn't have to go hard. We already hate what Disney is up to. You can blame some of Strange World on lack of marketing if you enjoy coping, but the truth is that an overwhelming majority of parents aren't into the gay and sexual stuff that Disney seems to be wanting more of. Their firm opposition to the Florida bill was a stupid move because it was a big public affirmation about the thing that parents are already worried about. Ron looks like he's punching down on a politically expedient target. Disney needs to focus on their shaky business. Like I tell my kids, mind your own plate. But now, where do you see this fight going? Obviously, nobody's going to come out on top, but who do you think is going to lose harder? I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.